I'm here today with Tracy Leckenby, who is a speech language pathologist and has a lot of experience with what we're going to talk about today, which is attention. So, Tracy, most of us think, pay attention. It's just that's one thing called attention, but really, there are different types of attention. And I'd love it if you would just kind of take us through real quick. What are the different types of attention and what does it look like?
There are many kinds of attention. Some of them are broken down based on how intense the attention needs to be, and others are broken down by the duration of how long attention needs to be. But really we can put it all together, as you see here on the slide. Let's start with sustained and focused attention. So focused attention is like when you're in a quiet room and you are looking and thinking about one thing. So that's focused attention. Sustained attention is that focused attention only for longer and longer and longer periods of time. So while somebody can focus their attention to read a story, can they keep focusing on that story until the end? Okay. This is the kind of attention you might use if you're reading a book in a quiet room. Okay.
Or like writing a paper, like you needed to write a paper for school or you needed to write a report for work.
Yeah, creating would require a little bit more than just focused or sustained attention. But staying on with that same topic for a duration of time, yes. Yep.
Got it.
The next more difficult skill is selective attention, and our whole lives really are based on our ability to selectively pay attention to one thing and to filter out the other things. So usually when you are standing in your home, if you live with other people, there's other people moving around. There may be somebody playing music upstairs. The TV might be on. The temperature is too warm in the house. There's all these different things that your brain is taking in. But if you have good selective attention, then you can just think about one thing at a time. Okay. This is what happens in like a grocery store, for example. Some people get very overwhelmed or anxious when they're in a grocery store, for example, because there's so many other things going on, and you need really to pick out which item you want and to stay on your plan of what you're going to buy. But there's all these people walking around and interrupting you, and there's noise and so many other things to look at. That's selective attention. That becomes very, very difficult once you have a brain injury. And like I said, people get very overwhelmed and would just rather not go into the store.
That's something we hear all the time is I used to love going grocery shopping. Since my brain injury, I don't want to go to the grocery store because it's overwhelming. The word is just overwhelming because I can't focus. The lights are too bright. It seems noisy. Yep.
Yeah, and it's because your brain just can't decide which one to focus on, and those other noises are louder and just more bothersome. Luckily, there's many things you can do to get around it but getting around it is not always the best idea, because when you can't get around it, then you still have to do it.
Yeah.
But it's good to have alternatives. For example, the order the groceries and then you go pick them up. Or Uber, But these things cost more money.
Yeah.
And reduce your socialization really too. The next kind of attention is shifting attention. And this is what we're doing all the time as well. Maybe we're making dinner and we're cutting vegetables, and then we shift our attention to the stove and we look at that water boil and decide if it's time to put the vegetables in there. And then maybe we go back to prepping our food, cutting the vegetables or whatever. And then maybe an interesting story comes on the TV news. And so you stop cutting and you go over to the TV and you listen for a minute. And then you go back to cutting your vegetables. So you are switching or shifting what you're focused on, and then you're going back to what you were doing. Now, people with brain injuries, what happens here is that sometimes the memory doesn't hold on to the first thing that you were doing. And so you might be cutting vegetables, the news story comes on, so you move over to the living room and you look at the news story, and then you forget you were cutting vegetables, and then maybe you go sit down on the couch, or you go in your room and fold laundry or something like that, and you go to the kitchen sometime later and you go, oh my gosh, I was
I
cutting
started out
vegetables.
cutting vegetables. I started cutting vegetables. Yep.
Yeah, yeah. Some people just live like that, but no, you really do have to remember what you were doing and make a decision as to, do I need to get back to that right now or
Mhm.
not? And if you're cooking, you definitely do. Again, there are compensatory strategies for that. Um, so there are things you can do to manage it. But that's the trick, is managing it, just like anything. A
Mhm.
schedule, employees, your kids, your time. You have to manage it. And
Mhm.
it's how well you manage it that really determines how productive you are.
Mhm. Yep. Yep.
Another another kind of, let's talk a little bit more about shifting your attention in terms of driving. Okay. Driving, you have to shift your attention from, maybe you're looking at the car in front of you and then there's a pedestrian. So you shift your attention to the pedestrian, and then you got to go back to the the car that's in front of you. It almost bleeds into divided attention, because
Mhm.
when we drive, it's really important that we're scanning the environment, we're noticing the pedestrians, we're noticing the cars in front of us and in back of us and to the side of us. We are monitoring all the time, so we're doing a lot of things at one time.
Mhm.
And that doesn't count the radio and the
Uh,
person you're talking to in the
yeah.
passenger seat
A kid
and
in
the
the back.
kid.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. So you're really dividing your attention. Well, after sustained attention, it takes a lot more to selectively attend and to shift your attention, and to divide your attention even takes the most amount of cognitive load. And it's very tiring and it's very difficult to do. It's not natural. I mean, think about way back when, when we were cavemen, we didn't have to divide our attention so much like that, you know? So
Yes. We didn't have an
so our
electronic thing in our hand that had all the information of all the world in it and access to all the people that we know in it, vying for our attention at any given moment. For
Yes,
most of civilization, it was, what's the thing in front of me right now that I need to do, with no
right.
access to all this other stuff. So now that we
Yeah,
do have all this other stuff, and now let's add a brain injury on top of everything else, what do you see in the sort of the brain, those who are, living after a brain injury? What if you can say, is one of the specific areas of attention that you see the most sort of impact on after a brain injury?
Well, they're all pretty important. With a
Yeah.
more severe brain injury, the first one that you work on is the focused attention and sustained attention, because you certainly can't do the other kinds of attention if you can't first focus for a duration of time. Um, but for mild brain injury, selective attention, I think, is the most devastating, because selective attention is how we manage ourselves in the world.
Mm.
And in simple instances, like just being in the house with other people or being at the grocery store, these environments are around us almost all the time in our culture, in civilization now. Anywhere you go, there's going to be multiple stimuli
Hmm.
that you're going to have to prioritize and focus, and stay focused on one particular thing.
And
Um,
is the
the shift.
selective attention, is that the thing that enables us to be in social situations and feel engaged, and for other people to feel like we are engaged? Is that predominantly a selective attention?
Yes, it's also shifting attention and divided attention. It's all of those. But yeah, when we meet with somebody somewhere and we want to have conversation, we're we're focusing on that person. So our eyes see that person, our eyes see their facial expression, and we change how we speak. So we're thinking something different, um, all at the same time while we're trying to continue focusing on our story.
Hmm.
So if I'm telling you about the deer that I saw last night, and I'm prepared to just tell you about the color of the deer and what it was doing, but instead you go, "Oh, really?" Then maybe I want to change what I'm going to talk about from not just the color and what he was doing, but maybe to his behavior and how he responded when he saw me. So I have to do a lot of different things at one time, which is actually divided attention.
Okay.
So, or when you go, oh, now I have to shift my attention from my story to a different focus.
So attention, it sounds like, is foundational to communication, to productivity, um, to like social
Everything.
situations, and we can say it's hard for me to pay attention. And in reality, maybe we, if we look at it now that we know sort of these types of attention, we can identify, oh, you know what? I'm actually pretty good at sustained attention. I need to work on selective attention, or I need to work on my shifting attention. And these are things that you actually, as a speech therapist, do with your clients, is help them in like these given areas of attention. And of course, they all are overlapping. Like they all kind of depend on one another. It's not just discrete, like this is this and this is this. Um, but I appreciate you taking the time to explain to us that it's not just pay attention and this, here's the box that attention looks like. It can look like different things, and it's very interesting.
It's very complex, and attention is the basis for all thinking.
Mm. Mm-hmm. Because you can't remember something new if you didn't pay attention to the thing that you were trying to remember in the first place, right?
Right, right. And the precursor, the requirement for paying attention is that you're awake and
Yeah.
alert.
Yeah.
And that's the only thing less than attention. So And we learn it at different stages of life as well. This is growth. As we're growing up, we learn to master these different forms of attention.
Mm-hmm. We hopefully we do. So, Tracy, thanks so much for having this conversation today. And I hope that it really, maybe some people walk away with a light bulb going, oh, you know what? I'm actually pretty good at
Yeah.
paying attention in this way. And maybe I can work on this other type of, attention. So who knew?
Yep.
Not just one type
Yep.
of attention.
Right. It gives you a bridge to say, why can't I pay attention?
Yep.
Well, it's not because I can't focus, it's because there's too many other things in the environment.
Yeah.
Or
And then we
because
can
I was
learn.
already busy.
Yeah. And we can then maybe work on our context and have have a better idea what tools to employ. And also, speech therapists just do this stuff all day, every day with their clients. So
Yep.
kudos to speech therapists.
Yep.
Okay, Tracy, thanks. And next time we'll have another conversation about something else that's really interesting and helpful.
Beautiful. Thank you.